All right, I think we're good to go. Let's just make sure that link looks good. Does it sound good? Does it blend? No. Looks like we have an audio issue. We shouldn't have an audio issue though. What's happening here? Let's just make sure. Is that my own audio? Yeah, maybe that's what it is. That link looks good. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything come out of here, so the sound is probably working. Blend. Oh, I figured it out. All right, should be good now. Looks like we have an audio issue. We shouldn't have an audio issue though. Okay. All right, so we're back. This is the first stream in like 3 weeks or a month. It has been a while. I think most of the people watching this will probably know this already, but I've been in Mexico for the last 3 weeks and traveling to Yucatan, mostly in Tulum, but also like Cancun, Playa del Carmen. It was fucking amazing. So we're going to be doing a short one today. We'll be doing 30 minutes just to kind of get back in the swing of things. I don't know what the future of this channel is or what the future of what I'm doing here is, but I think just this morning I wanted to come back for a bit until I know for sure if I want to keep doing this or not. I don't know what I'm going to be doing, but for this, and I do have a couple other topics that I do want to talk about that are more nebulous, so we might still be going. It's just tough because now I have a whole lot of shit that I want to do, so I don't know if this is going to work with everything else that I'm doing time-wise, but we will see. Woo, just woke up. I got a lot of sleep last night, but I haven't gotten last 3 nights have been really fucking. Actually, like all this week has been very limited sleep just from everything else that I've been doing and shit. Woo. So I feel like I slept a lot, but I'm kind of pretty well rested, but still tired. Always tired though. So I want to talk about on this stream what I'm going to be doing for my future goals, and this is something that since I moved to New Orleans, I've been not sure on what I'm going to be doing. But after this trip, I do know. So when I started doing coding programming, the plan was either to build a career that I can make enough money to start a family with, like long term, and then also be able to move back abroad. I lived in Korea for about 3 years. I was an English teacher. I love living abroad, but I hated teaching English, and this was like another way to do it. So I started learning the coding stuff and started getting into it. And then along the way, I kind of got, I spoke about this in past streams. I kind of got lost in just doing career stuff, and I almost forgot about why I was doing this in the first place. And going to Mexico was like a reminder. So I was working while I was there remotely, which presented some challenges, but mostly because I was moving around a lot. But we were able to be pretty fucking effective. There weren't really any issues. So the long-term goal now, and this will be by June 1st is my goal, is to move back to Mexico for an extended stay. Tulum again, same place. I'm going to stay there for about 3 months. So to do that, I'm going to need to, I do want to come back to New Orleans. This is like the city that if I'm going to live in long term, I think it's going to be New Orleans. So I'm going to be over the next 2-3 months talking to my employer, who I don't think will have an issue with me staying out there for 3 months on like a tourist visa and working, and getting all of my stuff like in order. So we'll put some stuff in storage. We're going to get rid of a lot of stuff. I realize I just have so much shit now. And then, 3 months we'll be moving to Mexico for that period. And I think the idea is, first, we'll be saving like a lot more money. And, life is short, and I want to spend it doing things that I want to do in places that I love, especially like in my 30s and 40s when I still have like a working body. So this is what I've been thinking about for the last few days. I just had this vague idea of moving out there permanently, indefinitely, but I don't think I think that's a weird idea. That's a tougher sell for my employer too, but a 3-month stay I think that they'll be very comfortable with. And if they're not comfortable with it, I'm going to do it anyway, and try and find a job while I'm out there or beforehand that will let me do that. I don't see any issues. So this is like, I feel like the last, let me get chat up just in case. I doubt that there will be anybody. There never is, but I want to let's get rid of this. Okay. No. Oh, yeah. Chat. Should be just like here. Okay. So yeah, by I think June 1st, we're doing the one-way ticket back to Cancun, then the bus down to Tulum, and then we'll be staying there for 3 months. I have a couple other things I want to do. Learn some Espanol. I honestly, is interesting. I lived in Korea for 2 or 3 years, and I never learned the language. I always saw it as just being too challenging to get anything out of, and I also, it's pretty rare for foreigners to be able to speak Korean on a meaningful level. They can maybe speak it a little bit. There's a couple that I met who can really speak it. The ones who can legitimately speak Korean are in jobs and careers that leverage that. So one of them works for a bank or something doing translation services, and another is a flight attendant, and they can actually speak and write it. And I talked to them about it. Learning Korean is very, very, very difficult. It takes far more hours than learning Germanic language or a Latin-y sort of language. So I never really learned it, but when I was in Korea, I've taken Spanish in high school and college, and I was amazed at even the little bits and pieces that I knew were super fucking helpful, and I think I have a good base to build on, and it's something that I think would be pretty fucking awesome to be able to do on some level. So that's going to be a focus before I move, and then while I'm there. And then there's a couple other things I want to do while I'm out there, the scuba diving stuff and all that shit, and I think we'll do a travel bloggy kind of thing, some stuff like that. We could do it on the tourist visa, so 3 months, and I think we can find a place for 800 American, maybe 1,000 American. That would be really fucking really nice too. But I kind of forgot even when I was in Iowa, I almost was I don't know how this moving back abroad stuff is gonna work. But now that I have such a solid base under me career wise, that I think that it's time to do it. Especially with my current job, I think that they will be more than happy to let me do this. And if not, then we can do it for 3 months and figure shit out. So I'm feeling really confident about that. Moving stuff is going to be a pain in the ass, but it is what it is, and that was always going to be the case. So that the faster you do it, the better. We're going to be getting rid of a ton of shit, which I feel good about. I have felt all my possessions have been weighing me down. I'm how in the back of my mind, the last year, I'm I've been thinking I have this new couch, I have this this table, I have the KitchenAid stand mixer and all this other shit, and it's very much so that Fight Club idea of the things you own end up owning you. What are we really doing here? So the more expensive shit I will be putting in storage. I'll try and put a good chunk of the stuff in storage because I don't know what else to do with it, honestly. And I think that I do want to come back to New Orleans like intermittently. The details I'm still figuring out, but Mexico, Tulum for 3 months, and then probably back in America for a period of a couple months or so, and then like I want to keep moving around and not just settle in one place for right now. I think that's like that actually excites me, to be honest, and I haven't really felt excited about things like on a long-term level in a long time, and that this is like the first time that I'm like, holy shit, we can really do this, and this can be something like really special, really amazing. As for like work stuff, I don't see there being any issues. And yeah, I feel like I've gotten to a place now where I can find a job pretty easily doing remote work. I mean, we've been interviewing people for my company. I've done three interviews now, and after seeing what the candidates look like, again, every time I either look for jobs or interview people, I get so fucking confident because the people I see are just like, I feel very comfortable competing against them. But yeah, I don't know what else to say here. I'm just really excited about it. I don't know where the stream is going. I think that today is just today I am like pretty tired, and work has been nuts. Work's been really crazy. So I don't want, like, today's going to be a shorter stream, but I did want to do something just to not let the channel just die. I don't want to ghost the channel. There is like a small audience of like 4 or 5 people who have been messaging me about stuff, which is very fucking cool, and I don't want to just abandon that side of stuff. But yeah, there's just other things that I'm thinking about now. I do think like maybe once we get out there, we can talk about it. I mean, we can even, like, once this happens too, we can even shape the channel into like the have to be a digital nomad type situation. Of which I think that there's channels that exist, but they're really shitty and they are selling a fantasy. So much of that digital nomad lifestyle that people sell is such a fantasy, and you really see it out there. One of the things, so I was going to the beach for sunrise like every day when I was in Tulum. I was going to sleep really early and waking up really early. No booze, no drugs, or no weed or anything. And one day I was out there. The first time I was out there for the sunrise was really interesting. I was on like a more populated part of the public beach, and there were like a lot of people with their phone set up on a tripod doing like yoga for their like YouTube channels and shit. And they're like, and you just see you see a lot of shit like that. And like next to these people is like the Mexican workers who are cleaning up like the seaweed on the beach, and it was such a like clash of reality and fantasy. Like I think that the digital nomad or that lifestyle is not an easy one to achieve. I think I'm right there, and I think the only thing now is just getting permiso. I think we'll be fine. I mean, the only thing left now is to do it, really, for me. But it didn't. You can't just like. I was trying to find out more info on this on Reddit, and I was just like Googling, how to digital nomad, and most of the people who are asking how to do this are people who don't have any skills, who have never written a line of code, who are just asking like I was expecting there to be experienced developers who were like asking how to do this, but instead it was a lot of people who have never done any coding before who are asking like if they can do it in 6 months. And I'm like, that's not realistic. I have no idea how. You need to really work for it. And even the people who are doing, I met a ton of business. What's up, dude? Even the people who were there, I met an Australian couple, and they were out there doing like the influencer. They have like 100,000 Instagram followers, and they're doing like that whole thing. And I could tell, like, firstly, there's not a lot of money in what she's doing. It's mostly the girl who's doing the stuff. There's not a lot of money in it. And it's, don't kid yourself, like that shit is a real job. Like there's no, but the job that they're doing, this like travel blogging kind of thing, is selling a fantasy. And I think that to get to a point where you could like live abroad comfortably, doing like, especially doing like a digital nomadic coding kind of thing, you have to build a career first. You can't just learn how to code and expect a company to like let you work remotely with no experience. I don't know why they would do that. You have to build the experience and make yourself valuable enough and a good enough remote employee that people are going to be like, we don't even care where he or she lives. Like they're doing so, like we just want a person who's going to add value. And for my company now, we're like, they really like me so far. Like they offered me a full-time position already, and I think I'm a contractor right now. For the next 2 months or 3 months, they offered me a full-time position I think twice now. They keep trying to get me to sign, but I've just been holding out for more money. But you need to you need to build a career, you need to get experience, and you need to do, honestly, I feel lucky that I was able to, in my first 2 years as a developer, or really even when I was at my last job, we had an office here. Even I never really went in. The office is like a mile down, not even a mile. It's like a half mile, quarter mile down the road from me. I almost never went in. I still almost always worked from here. But just having a base of people you could talk to in person. But my first job there was no remote work at all. I went in Monday through Friday every day. The experience you get from doing that is, when you're first starting out, is massive. It's irreplaceable. I think it's really hard to just jump in as a remote person. It can be done in 2021, where the world is in the state that it's in. It's much more realistic, but it is tough to do off the bat, I think. And not to pop bubbles, but I do think it can be done, but it's difficult. What you really can do, if I was to tell somebody who's like learning how to code, who wants to embrace like a remote lifestyle immediately, what I would tell them to do is to find, and this is like really fucking challenging, I don't really know how to do this, but basically start your own company, or start your own, like find your own revenue streams, because I don't know if an American company is going to employ somebody with no experience who lives outside of the US permanently. That's a tough one. But once you have like some years of experience, and you like, now I get hit up by, I feel like if I lost my job today, I could find a new job by the end of the day. I could at least get interviews and shit, and once I'm in an interview, it's over. Like I think once you have probably about 3 years. I mean, really, once I had like even a year, 2 years experience, I was getting hit up enough that I could find a job. And now with like 3 years experience, I think like in a couple weeks I'll have three years of doing this on a professional level as a career, and now it'll be easy to find a job. I also got so fucking lucky. Now that I'm looking back, and now that we're interviewing people and they're telling me about the companies they've worked for, looking back, I am so fucking lucky about the jobs that I found. They've come, all three, really the first two. The current job I'm less sure on, but if they let me move abroad, and there's so much room for. Before I get sidetracked, let me talk about why the first two jobs I was really lucky. The first job, they're just pretty legit. The first job was working on a big team, and I was lucky enough to work with two other software engineers who really liked me, who just helped me so much with my career and with like learning shit. I learned so much from them, and it was just such a good place to start. I was able to like be impactful immediately, and having heard, like, I thought that they were kind of small time for a little bit after I finished working there, started working at my other company, but they still do stuff, like they're working in like legit product teams and doing real IT and software development, and I got a ton of legit experience doing it. I've heard a lot of people in these interviews are telling me that they basically work by themselves within organizations doing stuff, and that's like without code review and without working in like this collaborative environment with QA, and all these other moving parts, I think that is not really, that's like something else, and it's less challenging, and it's like that's not the real shit. The real shit is like working collaboratively, because that's where challenges really happen. Not making these like small one-off apps for like 10 users or 20 internal users, although I've done that before, but even that was within the scope of a team. That was my first job. My second job was like, now that I could not have asked for a better opportunity. It was so hard. It was definitely it was the most challenging job I've ever had. It was one of the most challenging things I've ever done, is work for Recurly. That company was, their engineering culture and the people who worked there were so fucking high caliber. They're all like, now we're like following them on LinkedIn, and they're going off to places like working at Google, working at Twitter. One of them just got a job as a CTO. She was an engineer, like a principal level, architect level, high level engineer, very smart person. She just got a job as a CTO for like a small startup, but that's still, I'm sure she's getting paid a lot of money. I think that there were just a lot of people coming from these, like, it was very, very challenging. Those people were so smart, and the company is well regarded. So now in interviews, when I bring up that job, people know the company, which is really fucking cool too. And what I worked on was really interesting. I also got to work with an engineer who was one of the smartest people I've ever met, who was one of these like super high caliber people. And I worked like side by side with him for a year and a half, and learned, like, God, I learned so much from him. And a couple of the other engineers. I really think that it like accelerated the shit out of my career. Where now, like, I'm interviewing people with like 10 to 15 years experience, and I think that they're not even close to the level I'm on, just because I got lucky with where I've been placed. And then now moving to this new job. Well, it's not that new anymore. 3 to 4 months at this other job. It's more like the first job. It's not as it's not Recurly. It's not that caliber. But what that means for me is that there is a lot of room for me to take responsibility. And I think that, like, my long-term goal is to get to a manager director level. And I think this company, maybe I can do it there. If not, I could learn a lot of the skills that I would need to do that. And I think that it's just there, I'm given like a lot of runway and a lot more freedom to do what I want to do at that job. Like a lot more trust in general. So I think it's just a very good opportunity for me to embrace that side of things. And they're still legit. Like they're still working in like legit product teams, doing legit software engineering. It's not the prettiest stuff, and there's frustrations for sure. It's not the highest end stuff, and the engineers are not nearly as good as they were at my last job. Some of them are to be fair, some of them are very smart and very talented, but the average is not close. But for right now, I'm totally fine with that, especially if they, let me move. But yeah, that's definitely the fucking goal right now. Which I'm really, it's hard to see on my face. I'm so tired, but I'm really fucking excited about it. And yeah, the last 2 years, I've just been kind of, I feel like I've forgotten why I was doing this, like what the motivation was. But I think we'll do 3 months in Tulum, and then after that, I think, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But that is like locked in. Like I'm 100% doing that. And even if they don't hire me, or if they don't allow me to do it, we have the money to more than to easily sustain myself for like a 3-month period of living in Tulum. That's not that much money. I mean, it's like I could probably do it for, I think, $5,000, $7,000, something like that, comfortably, which is more than, and that's like doing it very comfortably. We could do it even if we're not working, we could do it real fucking cheap. But that is the goal. It'll be interesting to see, like, that'll be right about the time I think that things will be returning back to normal in America. Man, I right when I like came back to America, there's such a tension here. I forgot I was in Mexico long enough to almost like when I came back to America on the plane, the plane landed, and like it was almost that reverse culture shock. I got that really hard when I came back from Korea, but even coming back from Mexico for 3 weeks, I was still speaking Spanish to people in the airport. It took me a minute to readjust, but I think like the tension in America, like right when I stepped off the airplane, you could feel it. And I'm also just walking through the airport in Dallas on my connecting flight, and all of the restaurants are all these like fast. Everything is McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, and Dallas Cowboys apparel shops everywhere. That's literally that's what Wetzel's Pretzels, shit like this everywhere. Like that's all there was. I get that it's an airport, but like just the food here and the general vibe in America is just not very agreeable with me, I think, especially right now. Maybe things will, when things come back to normal, maybe that'll change. It's really hard to say. And I really did love New Orleans when I first moved here. It's also just getting expensive. Like my place is pretty expensive, and like the electricity and the water are pretty fucking expensive. So I think that like I'll be saving significantly more money moving out of this place. So I wanted to move out of here for a while, but it's just been with COVID and everything hard to do. And then I've also been not sure if I want to just like move to another place where I'm also in the same situation where I'm just rooted down, except it's like $400 less per month. Like, is that really worth it? Maybe, because that adds up to like $5,000 per year. Maybe, but then the process of moving probably is going to cost a couple. At the end of it, you maybe come out a little bit ahead. But I was not sure if that was like. I think in the back of my mind, I knew I always wanted to do this. So I think that's why. That's why I never got a cat when I was here. But anyway, I'm gonna get going. I gotta eat breakfast and get started on the work stuff. I don't know what the future of the stream is. We will see. We might go back to a more loosey goosey style too. But right now, it's not a priority for what I am thinking about my future is. Even in the short term, like work is getting very, very crazy. We've just had there's just a ton of work on my plate, and there's other things like I need to spend time like learning Spanish, figuring out how I'm going to move. I also want to spend more time cooking and doing other sort of shit for me. So we'll see, but hoping I'll be back on Monday. No promises either way. Ollie, if you're still watching, much love. And then for everybody else,